Hello everyone. At Alaya, we love to invest in cloud infrastructure, and we believe it will keep being a great investment opportunity for the years to come. In this short video, I'll explain why, and then Sébastien Marotte, VP Channels EMEA at Google Cloud, will share some insights about this fantastic market. Thanks for joining, Sébastien. Cash in cloud. The underlying cloud infrastructure, which is the foundation upon which the digitalization of the world is happening. A KPI we like as a VC is, of course, market size. We tend to prefer to invest in startups that tackle markets that are over 1 billion euros in size. And according to which analyst you ask, the cloud infrastructure market is measured in several hundreds of billions of dollars on a yearly basis. So when you can't measure a market with $100 billion accuracy, we call it a humongous market. Certainly a great investment opportunity. With such an investment opportunity, there are lots of sectors, subsectors, segments, and topics to be addressed. They all start with data, because data is growing at a fast pace. Every tech and service that will help store and process data, from block storage up to AI and machine learning, is a good investment opportunity. Data is the new oil. Let's pinpoint the scale of the data sphere. It will be 175 zettabytes in 2025. What does that mean? If I were to download right now with my internet connection, it would take me billions of years. It's so huge that it's hard to materialize. But investing in data is about way more than investing in storage. Of course, it begins with storage, object, block, file storage, etc. But it's also about data platforms, data operations, ETL, data lakes, visualization, AI, and big data, of course. It needs to be streamlined, since a huge part of this data will be real-time, which will cause tremendous stress on the underlying infrastructure. But the cloud will and already is part of it. As a proof, check out Snowflake and its recent IPO at $67 billion in Nasdaq. It's not only about valuation, but it's a multiple of hundreds of times the revenue. So let's keep refining this new oil to leverage this revolution. Then there is edge. The fact that the cloud is working from its historical hyper-centralized infrastructure to something more fragmented, more dispersed with data and compute being spread all over the world. And that is something happening at a fast pace today. Edge computing is built on a discrepancy between a few hundred hyperscale data centers that are supposed to be the underlying infrastructure of the cloud, and on the other side, we have billions of devices, data sources. It's unimaginable to bridge this gap manually, to build an infrastructure to connect these two. That's why we need the middleman, edge data centers. It is closer to the edge, so it helps make the edge smarter as we know it with edge IoT. Cloud is conquering the edge. It is bringing closer, it is leveraging all the underlying infrastructure. However, to do it, it has to be connected, to deploy points of presence all around the world to orchestrate it. In fact, bring CDN to the next level, leveraging 5G, build this edge platform from cost effectiveness, for resilience, for dynamism of the underlying infrastructure. But to take advantage of this new infrastructure, we need new ways to develop and manage software, and that is what we call cloud native. Having a workload which are designated to take the most of the new cloud, also referred to as DevOps tools, and that is a space we like. Cloud native is the mere condition to achieving the cloud's promise. We see the gap between growing top performers and average virtualization, microservices, dynamism, and automation. It is about a new mindset, the DevOps mindset, and open source is at the very center of it. Kubernetes, open source by Google, is accelerating this wave and is far from being cosmetic or geeky. IBM even made its biggest acquisition ever with Red Hat. But then again, if you disperse workloads and data all over the cloud, you increase the attack surface, which causes anxiety. And perhaps the security is the number one blocking factors that prevents CIOs from moving to the cloud. So investing in tools that defend against cybercrime on the cloud is fascinating. It's hard enough to secure your infrastructure as it is on your own facilities. Now, I have to move my data center from my facilities to another I don't own, I don't manage. Don't worry, startups are building the tools to help you deliver your cloud safely and securely. It's about bringing security to the DevOps wave and embedding security into the software development cycle. And eventually, as we said, with this thick data stack and complex edge infrastructure and new ways to develop cloud-native workloads and all the needs to defend against cybercrime, all of this creates complexity. Managing the complexity of the cloud is another space in which we want to invest. It can be overwhelming. It's hard to keep track, to be sure that you're up to date on every aspect of your stack. To make sense out of it, there's a need for new management layers. The first one, the obvious one, is networking, to rule them all in a sense, to connect all of these aspects. It can be SD-WAN, but also API gateways to make sense out of the manageability of the cloud infrastructure. And when I say cloud, I mean clouds. You have to be multi-cloud, hybrid cloud in that space. But there is something more. It's not only about the tools, but also a change of culture. The cloud has to be simple for highly skilled DevOps that are hard to find, to hire, and to keep. And now they need to be continuously training. We've been investing and will keep investing in great startups who disrupt the cloud infrastructure space. From data management to edge computing to cloud native networking to cybersecurity and much more. And now let me introduce Sébastien Marotte, VP Channels EMEA at Google Cloud. It's an honor to have you with us, and we're delighted to share your insights from a cloud provider's perspective. Sébastien will comment the technological stack, data, edge, cloud native, security, manageability. He'll explain that migrating to the cloud for an enterprise is way more than just a technology debate, and we'll discuss how startups can keep creating value and working with the major cloud providers.
So first of all, good morning, everybody. Here, Sébastien Marotte. I'm running now the channel sales organization for Google Cloud. So my role is really to build the ecosystem. If you think now about cloud infrastructure and cloud in particular, and what we have seen during the past 10 years, I mean, we went by step. Like a few years ago, companies were starting to adopt these technologies to cut the bill. I mean, it was crystal clear. It was too expensive to buy and maintain an infrastructure. So by moving your workloads to the cloud, you were cutting the bill. Then very quickly, they realized that not only actually running workloads in the cloud, in public cloud, was cutting the bill, but also they could start improving productivity and efficiency by digitizing the enterprise processes. That was very much a second step. And then the third step, which we are seeing right now, is really the ability to total reinventing your business with, as you rightly said, actually in the presentation, actually, with this ecosystem, which is not only infrastructure, but as you perfectly described, actually, are really the 5 pillars that you demonstrated. But at the end of the day, it comes down to leveraging the amazing intelligence around data, to really build new business models, to create new products, to create new services to your customers, and really to personalize experience. And if I had to even summarize it further, I mean, number one pillar is definitely the distributed infrastructure as a service. And this is where you've got all this complexity that you mentioned with compute, storage, network, data and app security, management, development tools. I've seen your slide where you are tens, if not hundreds of companies. It's a huge ecosystem. And sometimes I'm hearing, yeah, but it's only about 3 players. I mean, AWS, Microsoft, and Google, and maybe Alibaba to a certain extent. And now you've got others actually that may have the capacity to invest to build this infrastructure like Oracle, IBM, and so on. But that's not the case at all, actually. When you talk about digital transformation, you need for sure a foundation infrastructure, and the cost of entering the foundation, the infrastructure is too expensive, of course, for companies now to get there. I think we have spent over the last 3 to 4 years, we spent anywhere close to $40 billion actually to build this infrastructure. Whichever company you are, it's over. I mean, you shouldn't spend any minute or investment in building and maintaining an infrastructure. You need now to develop a catalog of industry specific solution, because at the end of the day, I mean, everything we are doing is to solve business problems. And I really mean it, honestly, because cloud for technology doesn't make any sense, actually. What we are talking about, and at the same time, I don't really like this term because it's being served everywhere. It's about digital transformation. But what we mean by digital transformation is how we kind of, in some situation, reboot our company to build what's next for the next 5 to 10 years. And we are seeing every day some amazing acquisition. I don't know if it was yesterday or last week. I think it's just been announced. For instance, Facebook just bought another company, $1 billion company by the name of Customer. So very much in data analytics. You mentioned all the great acquisitions. We have acquired also a lot of companies. I mean, again, cutting a long story short, except for the foundation infrastructure, where I think the investment is too expensive for anyone to get into. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really think about that. Think about your 5 pillars. There are a lot of investment you can do. If my preferred ones are probably the new ones. Like if I'd want, actually, it's really all around the manageability of this complexity, all the tools that really enable to orchestrate the ecosystem, like multi-cloud and private cloud or on-premise. It is super complex, and I think that there is tremendous opportunity here. But we believe about the future platform, and this really ideal future platform for the enterprise space, where I think you need to build your investment. It's really a platform that provides the same open source answer for cloud across all the ecosystem, meaning on-premise data center, hybrid environment, single or multi-cloud, and even now, actually, as Gabriel introduced, and Mark, the edge environments. So really one open source answer to work across all this ecosystem. Always up to date, super important, with no vendor locking. From the adoption of the cloud, which was already, rocketing, as you rightly said in your presentation. We've got also some stats like 70% of the organizations by 2022 will have a cloud roadmap. This is even getting more accelerated with the current situation that we are experiencing right now. So it's booming, it's crazy. In 30 years in my career, I have never, ever seen that. We are talking about businesses that are growing triple digits, which is absolutely amazing when you think about the current run rate. If you think about Google Cloud, it's not a mystery because we are now disclosing that in our earnings calls, but the run rate is $10 billion right now and growing at a pace of high 2 digits to 3 digits.